Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And hey, Happy New Year, guys. Welcome to 2015.
Yay.
Hey, do you guys have a good New Year?
I had to work because I work at a bar, so I was there. I mean, it ended up being a fairly chill night, like lots of people there, but no one really getting rowdy, which was nice.
I thought I heard somewhere, did someone try to light up a joint in the bar?
Someone succeeded in lighting up a joint, and was quickly asked to leave because laws in Virginia say that you're not allowed to do that kind of stuff in public or in private. So you gots to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he decided to start off the new year getting kicked out of a bar for smoking up.
There you go.
Yeah, and then there was another guy who decided to start off the new year for getting kicked out of the bar for refusing to keep his shirt on. I had to tell him personally twice to put his shirt back on, and the second time I was like, look, dude, if I have to come up to you one more time, you're out. And then like 5 minutes later, I saw one of the other bouncers walk up to him and be like, telling him something, not specifically about his shirt, because he was keeping it on.
There you go.
But he was so drunk, I think he was starting to like fall asleep at the bar.
Yeah.
And you gots to go for that too.
Yeah.
No sleepers.
None.
But other than that, it was a nice night. Couple of the cute regulars came up and gave me a kiss for New Year's, which was nice because I am currently single, and I didn't have anyone to give me the old New Year smoocheroony.
Sure. How was the DJ? DJ
was all right. He's it was a DJ Espy, who's one of our regular DJs there.
Oh,
and he's an all right guy. He's a cool guy. Probably one of his best sets, actually. That I've experienced with him, because he's I'm not trying to talk bad about him, but he's like kind of just like across the bar.
Safe,
yeah. But New Year's Eve and into the wee hours of the morning, he was hitting some really good buttons with some retro stuff and some really good contemporary stuff.
Did he play 1999 by Prince?
Unfortunately, he did not.
Did he play lots of Calvin Harris?
Possibly.
Songs like Summer or So Close to You.
He might have
so
played
close to you.
He might have played So Close to You.
The cool thing is about 1999 is like Prince played it,
mm-hmm.
then he said that's it. He
Yeah.
played it like going into the new millennium, and he was
Mhm.
like, that was the last time I'll ever play that song.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's the last time
I
it'll be
think-
topical.
that's right. I mean, I think if you can get it past it being played at like every New Year's party ever and actually listen to it, it's like still a really awesome
Yeah.
jamming
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually more about like the fact that you like nuclear warfare and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun
It's
song to
yeah.
jam to.
It's partying like it's 1999, not partying because it's 1999.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You do anything interesting, Jake?
No, I think I've always been pretty low key on New Year's.
Mhm.
A lot of times it's just I go to my parents' place, or I've been at my parents' place for a lot of the early years, and just kind of hang out. We kind of had an early New Year's because our grandparents were there, and they wanted to drive back. So at 10 o'clock we acted like it was midnight. And
Yeah.
New Year's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, and so and then we did all the poppers and whatever,
Mhm.
and scared the crap out of all the cats, and then we kind of hung out and watched some college football, and I didn't really have any plans on watching any of like the
ball drop.
stuff until the ball's actually dropping, because there's really actually nothing to talk about. They kind of just like, they go up to the person on the street. Where are you from? I'm from Jersey. I came over from Jersey. Okay, next guy. Where'd you come from? I'm from California to see the ball drop. And there's
And then
there's
they
so-
ask people what their resolutions
yeah,
are.
there's only so much you can do, and then a couple bands play, and it's
Yeah.
fine. But I watched the ball drop, and then I went home but I don't know. I never really went crazy. I think the year before I was getting Taco Bell drive-through. Around the New Year.
You pull up to the
yeah.
cash thing. It's like, Happy New Year.
Took me a year to drive here, and they just hit me in the mouth.
Yeah,
With
good.
their fist.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, by the way.
There were so many people. There were so many people like on when we got there New Year's Eve. They were like, "Oh, see you next year." It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, fuck yourself."
I mean, I enjoy New Year. I mean, it's not something where I'm like, dude, why do people even bother? It's fun. It's a weird kind of fun
Mhm.
New Year
I mean,
kind of thing.
it's a nice way to celebrate the completion of a cycle. you
Yeah.
know?
And it's fun to look back on, and you kind of think, where the year's gone. But
Another season's done. Another season starts.
Yeah.
Which is actually weird because it's kind of right in the middle of winter, so it's You'd think that the new year would be like at a season break.
A breaker, yeah. I always I don't know, I guess I equate everything to television. So it's like, start of a new season. Either that or you could mark it with your birthday.
Season 29.
Yeah. Well, I guess August 11th will be the start of season 29.
Yeah.
I think we should start celebrating our birthdays like that. Instead of saying, 29 years old, be like, 29 seasons.
And the 29th
29
season.
seasons.
Got renewed for another season.
Got renewed for another season.
I hope there's not some last minute cancellation.
Oh, man.
When you have kids, that's when you're in syndication.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess because you've got you certainly get spin-offs.
Spin-off.
Yeah.
But
syndication, maybe if you have a partner.
Yeah. And does that mean somewhere overseas there's the British version of ourselves celebrating
I hope so, yeah.
They do in series. Yeah. And they have a Christmas
series
special.
29.
And they do the Christmas special, too.
And their series are a lot shorter and a lot more concise.
Yeah.
Not nearly as much filler months.
This is our Children in Need special.
This is our comic relief, or not comic relief, Red Nose Day or whatever.
Yeah.
So they do a big
go for quality over longevity.
Yeah. I was originally going to go
The Office.
Yeah. Or Luther.
Luther.
And then
time will tell.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It hasn't dipped yet. I enjoyed those first three.
I'm saying like versus the US.
Oh, well, yeah,
which hasn't premiered yet. Which oddly enough, not going to have Idris Elba.
Yeah, but he's coming back.
He is coming back
for season.
That's some news.
4. That's
mark your calendars.
Big news.
Get those IMDb apps ready.
I was originally going to go because last year me and some friends did a bar crawl in like Arlington, like in the Clarendon Courthouse area. And for the longest time, I thought that's what I was going to do this year. But the thing is, since last year, over the course of this past season, I should probably drop that, but I'm not. A good chunk of them have since moved away. One of them moved to New York. One of them moved to Texas. So that ended up kind of falling. Like it would be a much smaller contingent. But at the last minute, I got invited to a party in Reston Town Center. Nice. And first we went and did you guys ever visit friends at like James Madison? Did you ever go to any JMU parties?
Not parties. I've been to the campus though.
No.
Yeah.
My sister goes there. I've been there once or twice to pick her up.
The thing is, like, whenever I would visit JMU, the way the gender kind of skewed, the gender ratio, you would always be hanging out, like you would go to some party or some pregame, and you would be hanging out in a party, and you would be like the only dude in like with half a dozen girls, and that's how it started. Like at this apartment I was at in Herndon before we went to like Reston Town Center. Like 3 hours later, I didn't actually get to the actual party we were going to in Town Center until like 11 o'clock, and they had a live band, and it was great, and I had to kind of take a more kind of protective role because I'm with half a dozen chicks and there's a bunch of drunk creepers because always be drunk creepers. And
creeping.
Yeah, this creeper's going to creep and I'm going to kick their fucking ass.
This creeper's going to creep.
I was quoting Die Hard 2.
Yeah. I was quoting Taylor Swift.
T-Swift, 1989.
T-Swizzle.
Yeah. But so that's how that was my New Year. And then I I crashed at their apartment until I felt I was good enough to drive. And I just kind of sobered up watching The Twilight Zone because they always marathon that on Sci-Fi.
Nice.
Going into the new year. Yeah. And that was
what I usually do, or what I used to do, and I had originally wanted to do this year, but of course, I knew that I wasn't going to really have the time since the bar and all that. But usually, my friend Robbie does this thing where he calls it 6 from 6 to 6. He plays
the number of the beast.
Yeah, okay. 6 movies ish from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Over the course of the New Year's changeover, and then he tries to match it up so that the last movie he watches every year is The Warriors, and the first movie he watches every year is Phantom of the Paradise because we're weird like that. Brian De Palma's best film, hands down.
Take that, Untouchables.
Yeah. That being the one that everyone thinks.
I would, yeah. If you're gun to my head, The Untouchables.
Yeah. We saw that in the theaters, didn't were you with us? Yeah, me and TJ
for
a couple of years ago.
Anniversary?
That was cool.
Yeah.
But But yeah, and then breaks it up by switching to Dick Clark. Or I guess not Dick Clark anymore, but
they still call
the
it
New York.
They still call it Dick Clark.
The New York ball drop. And I think he tries to sneak in an episode of The Honeymooners as well every year because he really likes The Honeymooners. Hence why I pulled my Jackie Gleason records for him. I guess you guys didn't see that when I pulled the.
I did.
Yeah. I have my mom to explain to the people listening at home. My mom is trying to consolidate her record collection, and Sam here is an avid collector of the vinyl.
I am more so much for like the wall art aspect of it. I love to frame it and put it up.
That's fine. My mom, the biggest thing that my mom always loved about the records was the artistic side of it. She like always hated CDs and tapes, and now MP3s probably even more so than ever because they're minimalizing the covers.
Yeah,
and the art isn't as cool. Like one thing that she always loved that kind of instilled an unnatural sense of nostalgia for me was that she always toted how amazing the cover for Led Zeppelin 3 is.
Yeah.
Specifically because it has that little spindle that you can turn and change, the picture based on how it's set up.
Yeah. And
it's kind of always been like a white whale, so to speak, for me, because like I've always been trying to find a copy of it for myself because of how she would talk about it. And I had like in the back of my mind, I had this thing where I was like, I'm not going to listen to it until I can find the vinyl. And I've always been like kind of passively trying to find it in record shops and whatnot. Then the other day you came by and you were looking through her collection to see what records you wanted to buy off her, and you found her copy.
I found that 3 and 4 and just handed them to you.
Yeah, I was like, how have I not found this? I've gone through this collection like 3 times.
You've been digging in the wrong place.
Apparently. Yeah, I forgot to take it back 2 times for the...
Take one Kadan back for God.
Yeah, whatever the reference is for the Jewish God whose thing it is. Anyway, so yeah, I found it. And I was like, oh, it was like a Holy Grail moment just to make more Indiana Jones references.
Never can have enough.
No, never. And then I hooked up the spare record player that we had just sitting around. I hooked it up to my stereo system, and I like sat down, had a chill moment, popped it on, and I gotta say, was not disappointed. I did not overhype the album in its entirety through these almost 30 years, well, probably like 20 years of anticipation.
Zeppelin's great.
Yeah, it started off with the Immigrant Song, which is a song that I know well.
Oh, yeah.
But technically speaking, that was the only song that I knew off of 3.
And that's the hardest song on 3.
Yeah, and it's a great way to start an album. And then moved right on to 4, which I ended up, I've never listened to that in its entirety either, but I know, through listening to Zeppelin for the past 20 or so years, heard most of the songs because arguably that's the album that has the most hits, or at least the highest concentration of hits.
It's like Boston's self-titled album.
Yeah, and I gotta say, through listening to that, like, was the first time that like listening to the album as a whole was the first time that like Stairway to Heaven like really had like an emotional effect on me, because like I've only ever heard it by itself and I was like, oh yeah, it's a really pretty song, but I don't really understand why people are so gonzo for it, And then like after listening to it, I was like,
centerpiece of the album.
Yeah,
there's something special about hearing a song like that magnitude in its original place, like on an album. Like there's something to be said about hearing Mr. Blue Sky in the in the context of
which I believe
out of the blue
as well.
I know we have hearing Out of the Blue, because it's the concerto for a rainy day. Like that that ends a concerto that he wrote. So it's something really powerful about hearing it as opposed to just a single. And it's still it's a great to hear it here and there, but like you were saying, with listening to Stairway to Heaven and to hear it as it was meant to be heard is really cool.
And not to sound like one of those douchey audiophiles, but hearing it on vinyl really like kind of changed the game, because like the our copy of 4 is really well preserved, so it's not really like or anything like that. Yeah. But there were
warped or anything. Yeah.
But there are some natural, just based on the way that the needle works, like there is some natural kind of
sounds like it has some age
to it. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like this is how it's meant to be heard.
Yeah.
And I believe Led Zeppelin as a whole agrees with me.
I think that's why vinyl's kind of making that resurgence, right? It doesn't have that. It has that warmth, that emotion that you don't necessarily get from MP3.
Yeah.
That kind
because the wavelengths are curved instead of spiked.
Yeah.
To put it in a scientific term.
Right. So, I mean, how cool we're talking like how single songs serve as like the centerpiece of the album, like ELO, like Led Zeppelin. Did you? So I know you already fucking know this because you're as big a Beatles fan as me. On Sgt. Pepper's, because I feel like Led Zeppelin, like Zeppelin 4 is Zeppelin's Sgt. Pepper's. It's just the song everyone equates the band to. It's the most iconic album in their discography.
Mm-hmm.
Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields were originally supposed to be the centerpiece to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That's what the entire thing was supposed to build to. But the record label was like, you haven't put out a single in like months. People are going to think you're broken up. Let's put these out as a double A side. And George Martin, the producer, said his biggest mistake his entire career as a record producer, and he was a record producer until like the 80s, was taking those two songs off.
How fucking nuts. Like, you think of Sgt. Pepper as being, some people would say, the greatest album of all time, and I think in terms of like technique and studio and what it did for music, yes. The fact that Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever aren't on that album.
Yeah,
That's insane.
For years as a kid, I thought they were.
Yeah, I mean, well,
because they have the same kind of flow to them. Because it definitely sounds like they're written to be there. Because they are.
Yeah, because the entire Sgt. Pepper's as a whole is kind of a meditation on the Beatles, like where their childhoods and where they're going.
Yeah.
When I'm 64 is kind of this playful look into the future. Within You, Without You is kind of a focus on the now. A Day in the Life is like the history of like from like beginning of end. But the fucking because those two songs are really both of McCartney and Lennon's meditations on their respective childhoods. Of course, Lennon's is kind of this very introspective, experimental kind of piece,
dreamlike.
Yeah, and McCartney's is kind of a bouncy, very melodic musical number.
Yeah. And it's cool because that's one that, they have different keys for the present and the past and the recollection, and the imagery in both songs is astounding, And it is interesting to say because, like you were saying, the Beatles were off for a couple of months, and back then a couple of months was a death sentence.
Yeah.
And people were, and there's that
people were putting out multiple albums a year.
And one of my favorite moments, or one of my favorite stories McCartney ever told, was when they were working on Sgt. Pepper, and he was looking at a newspaper, and the headline was "Beatles Washed Up" because they hadn't released anything yet. And he sat there in the record studio with that, staring at that piece of paper, and he put it down, and he goes, it's like almost like rubbing his hands together. He goes, "Just you wait." And then in the documentary, you hear the final chord, in
the E chord,
in A Day in a Life. But like that's just such a cool thing. Like, no, they were about to unleash. They were about to change it again. They were about to change music again.
Arguably more so because their early stuff wasn't a far cry from music at the time.
Exactly. It was it was more of like the idea that four people could be equal or seen as equal in a band, and they were this like four-headed monster, as they would call it.
And they would have this just like this the energy would be captured in their music for those early albums. That's the appeal of that's where Beatlemania comes from, that they bring this kind of energy, not this like kind of oozing sexuality like Elvis in his early stuff, but just kind of this pop fun, because they looked like they were genuinely having fun all the time.
And they grew mustaches, and then shit got real.
Yeah,
grew out their hair long.
Yeah, Lennon started wearing glasses. All that sort of stuff.
So this is what that Paul McCartney guy was doing before he worked with Kanye?
Yes. Yeah. He even did I'm looking at one of the records I got from Chris. He did Band on the Run, which is I would argue the best Wings album.
Mm-hmm. It's the only one I know.
Yeah. There you go.
I think it's the only one my mom owns.
I would actually argue not just Wings, but it's the best thing McCartney did post Beatles.
Yeah, I think for me the only thing
the Super Bowl halftime.
that was a kick-ass show though.
That was.
For me,
I think that was the last one I saw.
The only thing that would come close to Band on the Run that he did that wasn't Wings related would be he did a solo album called Tug of War, was the one he was working on, and George Martin helped produce when Lennon was killed, and he really poured himself into that album, and I think that's the best solo thing he's ever done.
Well, he always thought that he was going to be the next one down.
Mm-hmm. Well, he said there was that like a little while period where he was, and then he thought like, no, I can't live like this,
and that's why the Wings broke up, because he refused to tour or do anything with the Wings, and Denny Lane, the other, because it was just a trio at that point. It was Paul and Linda McCartney and Denny Lane from the Loving Spoonful,
Moody Blues,
right? And he was like, I'm not going to tour. He basically like sequesters himself and Linda, and Denny Lane's well, fuck this.
Yeah.
You know. So I personally, the album he put out back, I want to say it was the end of 2013. New. Yeah, that was a really good one too.
It's a shame too because I really loved Driving Rain, which is associated a lot because he writes from the heart and wears his emotions on his sleeve about Heather Mills at the time. So I feel like that album's not so much something he's going to play as much anymore. But it's what the first time I ever saw him, he was the Driving USA tour.
Yeah, and
I think that's a great album. You know, he's done a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
but
and you see him like on the MTV Unplugged that they had with him from the early '90s. He's still got that like energy that the early Beatles had on stage.
And it's fascinating. But yeah, Band on the Run, is Paul McCartney, in the 70s, there's always the joke that kids would come up and ask him what he did before Wings, because there was this kind of like gap. And
now they're asking him what he did before Kanye.
Yeah, exactly. And so his thing is like, kids come up to me and they're just as excited or they almost love Band on the Run just as much as anything to do with the Beatles. And he loves that because that was Band on the Run is his album that gave him the validation post Beatles,
Speaking of him and Kanye, did you guys hear the song that they did?
I like
together?
the song.
I listened to it like once today, and I like searched for it on YouTube. So I'm still not positive that I actually heard what it was because I couldn't find like an official like Kanye.
It's on his website. I think it's the only way to hear it. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I was listening to it, I was like, I don't hear McCartney at all.
He plays keyboards.
Is that what it is? Is that all he does in the song?
I think he does a little bit of backing vocals. Like there's a couple like overdub stuff. Okay, but I mean, he plays keyboards.
I was like, what the hell is going? Like, because I'm like, I understand that he's very musically talented. So like, the first thing that popped in my mind was like, I don't hear his vocals. Well, maybe he's the one playing piano or something like that.
Arguably, he's the most musically talented of the Beatles.
Oh yeah, I would say.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
I mean, if I just had Paul McCartney in a room, I would say he's on the track with me, even if he didn't say anything. To say his essence was around me because it made the song better.
To be fair, I'd probably say the same thing about Kanye.
Yeah, I like Kanye. I do like Kanye. I mean, his music and stuff.
Yeah, I've been listening to Yeezus. With you. Yeah,
that's a vicious album. It's
dun,
good.
Dun, dun,
but the thing about McCartney's cool is he loves electronic music as well.
Well, he's starting to branch out into that.
Yeah, and he did that track with the Bloody Beetroots, which was really great off of the album Hyde.
Yeah, and the music video where he's stuck in the Phantom Zone.
He's stuck in the Phantom Zone, and there's a flaming piano as Sir Bob. It's just like with a Venom mask, just banging on the keyboards.
I want to listen.
We'll pull up the video.
I should temper your expectations.
It's not the actual Phantom Zone.
It's a TV set, but it looks like the Phantom Zone. I mean, it's basically the Phantom Zone.
I didn't expect him to steal
it's
things
called
from
Out of
Richard
Sight,
Donner.
by the way.
Yeah,
Out of Sight. But we'll have you listen to it or watch the video after. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But
pause this podcast and you all watch the music video.
Yeah,
and then come back and tell me how it is.
It's a sweet. It's a very sweet and moving and heartfelt song from
Kanye.
It's like
Only You or something like that.
Yeah, pause this podcast and listen to all 13 Beatles albums.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. And then listen to Band on the Run and Back to the Egg.
Maybe not Back to the Egg.
Maybe not. Look at the cover though.
Yeah. Maybe.
And you know what? Listen to at least the first 4 albums from Led Zeppelin, if not the entire catalog.
Yeah.
I like 70s Zeppelin. I love Physical Graffiti. House of the Holy, definitely. That's got The Ocean, which is a great track.
That was actually on the radio on the way to meet up with you guys for dinner.
Oh, really?
Oh, nice, yeah. That's an underrated Zeppelin track for me.
That's one of my favorite guitar riffs other than like Cashmere.
Yeah.
They're
Cashmere's great too, sure.
We were talking
or Come With Me by P. Diddy.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the 1998 Godzilla theme.
Yeah. Back to the Zeppelin. Quickly.
I mean, Robert Plant's on that.
Jimmy Page.
Or Jimmy Page. God.
For
some reason, I always confuse their names.
Oh, I think one of the best grooves they ever did was Nobody's Fault But Mine, where John Bonham. The thing about John Bonham as a drummer is
amazing.
He plays drums, and there are plenty of great drummers out there, but he's one of the few that I've heard that makes the drums sound like an actual melodic instrument.
Him and like Buddy Rich are two of the people that got that perfect.
And one I really enjoy too is Mike Portnoy, because he would do it as well, where you could play the same riff for 3 or 4 minutes but they would make it sound like completely different songs, even though the riff was exactly the same because they're playing different beats along with it, and it just totally changes everything. But the sound and the feel of the song. Excuse me. But Nobody's Fault But Mine is
apparently we all had hot cocoa.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just a rip roaring track, man.
Yeah. No, it's a great little record. I mean, my thing is, Zeppelin's one of those bands that I feel like the interesting thing, and I think you were kind of like hinting at this, Chris. I remember that whenever I would sit in guitar class or guitar ensemble in high school, everybody, of course, learns Stairway, the intro riff to Stairway to Heaven. So you would just get like people playing different parts of it, like
no
just
Stairway.
Yeah,
denied.
So you would just hear all this Stairway in the background, and so that kind of like tainted a bit of my perception.
Well, I remember,
growing up, my mom like hated Stairway to Heaven because it was so overplayed when she was in college. Like, I forget exactly when 4 came out, but like Stairway to Heaven was popular when she was in like high school or college or like freshly out of college, whatever the time period is, to make my mom not sound old. And she like just got so done with it because it was so overplayed. And like I was like I can I'm not back then, so I don't know how played it was, but like some of the songs that are out today, like they get like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a cool song, and then like a week later I'm like, okay, well, I've heard this every couple hours every single day, I'm done with it. So I'm like, I totally understand what she means. Like, it doesn't matter how good a song is, if I hear it, if it's oversaturated, it's oversaturated. Every song has its oversaturation point, and I've said that word a lot. So it's done. But yeah, I get it.
My mom would always tell me like her like the song at prom that they played was Stairway to Heaven, and so in the beginning it was all like the cheek to cheek, slow dancing, and then when it kicks in the heavy stuff, they do the whole like they
grinding,
they rock out. No, they rock out and stuff. But
she also feels that's the same way about Derek and the Dominoes as Layla. Yeah. Although she likes Clapton's acoustic version.
Yeah. Me and my buddy Chris played that once at a gumbo. We called it gumbo at Son of High School.
I remember those. I played with my little 3-piece punk band there.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about Zeppelin, I remember my freshman year guitar class, we got our guitars and we were messing around with them, and I started playing some Zeppelin on the guitar, and I'm just like this little lowly freshman, and all the seniors were like, oh, show me how to play some Zeppelin. Like Zeppelin was this like universal thing where it was like, I was cool for those couple minutes, like showing them how to play a Zeppelin song on the guitar or whatever.
I'm sitting there playing like... I'm playing Blink-182 and Green Day, and it's like, we all know how to play Blink-182 and Green Day.
Actually,
I never that complicated, bro.
I never learned how to play Stairway to Heaven on guitar. Like, I think that was, I don't know if it was just one of the things.
I don't know how to play the entire song.
I know how to play the dun 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 dun. Like, I know just that little bit. That's all I know.
Yeah. Dave Grohl does a good cover. He did it.
I love his cover where he like forgets the lyrics.
Well, he forgets he just skips like after like. He starts the second verse, then he's just like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna cut to the cool part," and just goes straight into the.
That too.
Yeah.
It was like live on Letterman or something like that.
It was Kilborn.
Kilborn. Oh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Back when Kilborn was the host.
Yeah.
Sorry, Craig. Craig Ferguson's gone now too.
Yeah.
But back when Kilborn was the host of
the
late.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah.
Jeff the robot.
But that's definitely appreciate the vinyl records. Like again, it's more for.
I feel like I kind of hijacked this podcast. Got us all distracted by classic music.
I can talk classic rock as long as you want. Yeah.
I mean, I'm freaking staring at Born to Run on vinyl and Band on the Run.
Yeah. Born to Run's what, your favorite album?
Yeah, Born to Run's my favorite album of all time. So Chris, thank you very much for that.
And it's right there next to Superman's crotch.
It's right next to Superman's crotch.
Electro Superman crotch.
Yeah. But just to pat myself on the back because I like to make myself sound really cool. This the Springsteen album that I got. Jake here was one of 2 that was in my mom's collection that she doesn't remember buying because she was not a huge Springsteen fan.
She didn't think she had any, right?
Well, that was my favorite when we're a couple of weeks, a week or so ago, we're flipping through, and I got to see Born to Run. I'm like, oh my god, Born to Run. And your mom was like, I bought Born to Run. Like,
but
I was like, careful, licorice.
It's still in the plastic, right?
But I was about to say, like, it's still factory sealed, and it's like, I forget exactly what they call it, but basically, it's like a hi-fi, rip of it,
half-speed mastered or whatever.
Exactly. So it's, if you ever do take it out of the wax and put it on a thing, it's probably going to be one of the better vinyls.
I've listened to that since I was 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one that she had was Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Patting myself on the back for being cool and getting you the perfect present.
Yeah, Darkness comes right after, 3 years after. So
over Born in the USA.
Well, I mean, it comes right after Born in the USA.
Yeah.
Well, it comes after Born the Run, and then it was like the river, Nebraska, and everything, and then Born in the USA was 84. So.
Yeah, I just meant in terms of like preference of.
Oh, in preference, no, Born the Run's number
Tunnel
one.
of Love.
That's in this tunnel. The video for Tunnel of Love scared the crap out of me as a kid. I love the song. There's plenty of songs I like on there, but I mean, Born the Run. Sorry, damn it. Born in the USA.
Yeah.
I would take over Tunnel of Love.
Sure.
He did that weird acoustic version of it at the
yeah, I mean, that's a song that
there's a reason.
I mean, not like weird.
Yeah, but I mean,
unquote, but like
the thing is, he. I think that song is one of the most misunderstood songs in the history of music because, and I don't know,
and it
like,
was perfect for that show.
It was
for the actual meaning of the song.
And I think part of it, I don't know if Springsteen's like, well, I kind of shouldn't have put pounding, the big Max Weinberg drums. I mean, he hits the snare hard as shit in that song.
Yeah,
and
almost pops the mic.
Yeah, and the scream he lets out in the end is like one of my favorite screams ever. But it's got these big.
Almost as good as Jungle Land.
Oh yeah, thanks Louis. And it's got this really big driving beat with a big synth, so it feels, and you hear a song called Born in the USA and you think very patriotic. And now while it is to a point being patriotic about like the men who fought in Vietnam, but then they come back.
It's a tribute to
exactly like
veterans.
Hey, like the veterans would come back from Vietnam and they were treated like second class citizens or all these horrible stories you hear about. And and the response, the cry was, hey, I was born in the USA, man. Like I live here. I fought for the for the country, right or wrong. Give me something. And so that was his kind of
and about how Ronald Reagan should be president.
Yeah.
Right,
and
Reagan was the one that used "Born in the USA."
I think Reagan used "Born the Run" or "Born in the USA," one of the songs, and Springsteen was like, "No," because the unofficial anthem of New Jersey is "Born the Run," and it's funny because he was trying to get out of New Jersey.
It's a song about running from fucking New Jersey.
Getting out of Jersey.
Yeah,
and he did for a while. Like he lived in like L.A. and he was just like, "This isn't right," and moved back to Jersey. And one of my best friends,
Billy Joel in New York,
exactly. One of my best friends from college,
me in New York,
lived in. Exactly.
Yeah,
and one of my
the difference is Billy Joel moved back to New York.
Yeah, back to New York. Because
me in the DC area.
Because he saw in the papers, like New York's going under, and he was like, "Well, if New York's going under, I'm going to be there too." And wrote Turnstiles.
Yeah.
That "Say Goodbye to Hollywood" is the first track on there.
Yeah, but
one of the tracks.
He's also got the entire this idea of he's in an empire state of mind.
Yeah. And he wrote that, near the West Point area, which is I think I've mentioned it before, like the Cold Spring Harbor kind of area, which is great because I love that whole area.
Your mom had some Billy Joel stuff too.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, that's right.
52nd Street.
Joel.
Yeah.
And The Stranger. Play some off The Stranger.
We're 80s Billy Joel.
Sometimes it's hard to keeping the faith. but I actually watched Step Brothers fairly recently for that reference. But yeah, I mean, where was I going with Springsteen?
Talking about
so he thank
back,
you. Yeah, so he moves back. I mean, that was years later, but one of my best friends lived on the same street as Springsteen, and during Halloween he'd give out like the king size candy bars and stuff.
Nice.
But so anyway, Springsteen
apparently
now
Bon Jovi only gives out regular size candy bars.
Well,
I was
King of New Jersey is the boss, man.
Yeah.
And
no, the boss is the boss.
The boss is the boss of New Jersey. Thank you. And so he stripped it down and does this very solemn kind of acoustic, almost this really twangy slide guitar kind of version, and
it was really moving.
Yeah, same lyrics, same everything, and it really drives the point, home with that one. So yeah, that I think we had mentioned that once or twice way back when we saw the Concert for Valor is what we were referencing when Springsteen played it, and I mean, and hearing that song on the National Mall and like echoing all over the place, it was like goosebumps, man. It was really intense. So
when you saw Springsteen previously, did he do it acoustic or
he did? Yeah, I have a DVD I think in like Barcelona or somewhere like 2009. Like it was an official DVD where he. I think he played the full-on synth thing, but he does a thing now where he does a thing where someone has a sign and they put up a sign, play the song, and it's like some of the more unknown stuff. Like for example, there's a great, I think one of the concerts he plays "Night," which is the third track on "Born the Run," which was not the most well-known Bruce Springsteen song, although I think it's my brother's favorite. But it's this real kind of like rockin' song about getting out of work. You hate your job, you hate your boss, and like blasting into the night and going off and doing wonderful things or whatever you want to do. And that was kind of cool because you see him like kind of having to dust the cobwebs off for those lyrics and everything. But I think the band and him thrives on that kind of stuff. I think a lot of bands thrive on like
I
that.
always,
I
always love watching bands like take requests. Like the Foo Fighters do it often, taking requests from the audience. I've seen Blink-182 do it before.
Yeah.
And they have to, they kind of like, they sit around, they kind of look at each other, and they'll do, like, Tom will play, like, to Mark and Travis, like, the melody to kind of help jog their memory on, like, on a palm muted guitar, like, it goes, like, just the chord progressions, and they're like, okay, cool.
And I think the crowd even loves it, too, when they kind of mess up, or there's, like, little, like, moment, because, again, think about the Springsteen, he was playing Spirit in the Night on the piano, just by himself. The band was all off stage. And, you know, the early Springsteen is, like, he packs so much lyrics into, especially which is the Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey, his debut album, packs so much on there because he was afraid that was it. That was going to be it for him, and he wanted to get as many words and thoughts out there as possible. So he's playing Spirit in the Night, and he gets to a part, and he's like, no, and he stops, and he starts laughing, and the crowd's like, yeah, and he goes, and the night, no, crap, and he's just like trying to think of the lyrics, and he's like trying to figure it out, and then he finally goes. And then like it all comes flooding back, and he finishes the song, and the crowd goes like crazy.
Hold
like
on, let me Google my lyrics.
Let me Google my lyrics. But I do like the stories
yeah.
where like it's like, you know, if it's a song that, you know, they play all the time and they forget the lyrics. Like Tom Araya from Slayer says a lot of times for the really fast songs like Ditto Head or something, he'll look out in the crowd and the fans are singing back, and he'll try to read their lips to like see what the lyrics are.
To go back to McCartney's MTV Unplugged, I think it's I've Just Seen a Face, where he flubs it initially.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is too.
It's either that or We Can Work It Out.
Something like something
and
along those lines.
he flubs the first verse, and he kind of stops, and then the entire band stops. He's like, we'll take it from the top. Sorry, it's only been about 30 years. And plays it again.
Because that was one of the few songs when Wings started being a band again, or when Wings was a band. He was very adamant, like, we're not playing any Beatles songs early on. And of course the promoters and everything were like, just play one Beatles song. And he's like, no, like I want to do this, you know. They would go to
a new band.
He would show up in colleges like in a van, and they would go to like, you know, the head of the student whatever union and be like, hey, is it cool if McCartney plays tonight? And they're like, bullshit. And then he would have to like bring them out, open the van, and see the band crammed in the back, and there's Paul McCartney, you know, a couple years after the Beatles broke up, like, hey man, I'll play your student hall for you. And you know, I think there was I think
at the end of the Beatles, that's what he felt, that's what the Beatles needed to stay together.
Go back out. Yeah,
he's like, we haven't been touring since like 1966. We need
which I think people overlook that about the Beatles, which is
everyone
nuts.
That they never played anything from Revolver on live.
And like, you know, the famous rooftop concert, when you watch that, there's a spark there again. You know,
you can see him
it starts
smiling
it starts to come up, and like, especially McCartney, like, it's clear on McCartney's face that this is something that he's been missing from his life. You know,
even George is smiling, John's smiling. The only person who isn't smiling is Ringo, because he's like sitting there wearing this like big uncomfortable raincoat because it's visibly raining.
And it's like the wind's blowing, and he's just like, let's finish this up. You know, it's cold. You know,
it's January in London.
Yeah, we're on a roof. You know, it's not like we're on the ground. We're freaking. You know,
the winds are heavier up here.
He's got this is Ringo during his long hair days, and you can see him like have to like get the hair out of his face. Like, oh god.
Yeah, if you want to see pure joy though, and if they finally released it on DVD, and I'm so glad they did, the Rock Show, which is the concert he did with Wings, which is like the big. He comes back to the U.S. and plays the show, and there's 5 Beatles.
Wings Over America.
Mm-hmm, the 5 Beatles songs he would play. That he would go, and I'm trying. Let's hope I can remember all of them. It's Lady Madonna. If you want to see joy, watch him play the riff on the piano of Lady Madonna live. The look on his face, it's almost like shock. I can't even explain it. He is so excited, and he's grooving so hard, and the band like rips on that one. So it's Lady Madonna, The Long and Winding Road, I've Just Seen a Face. I think it's Yesterday, and I want to say
Saw Her Standing There.
No, shit. I knew I was going to do this. So Lady
All My
Madonna,
Loving?
Lady Madonna, Long and Winding. I think Let It Be might be the last one.
Sure.
At least 4 of them, because, you know, and it wasn't Hey Jude. And the great thing is, in like I have the album Trippin' Live Fantastic that he did, the double album, which is really cool, where it's kind of his big. He's playing again with you know, live, and Linda's there, and I think the keyboard player is still playing with them now, from the 90s, which is insane. And he plays Hey Jude for the first time in like at that time like 20 years.
Yeah, since the TV broadcast.
Yeah, and it's like that must have been crazy, and it must have felt so fresh for him, you know, because it would have been so easy for any member of the Beatles to just fall back and just play, hey, I'm a solo artist, I'm just gonna play Beatles songs, you know, over and over again. And luckily for McCartney, he's got so much, you know, it's not just Beatles, he's got Wings, he's got solo stuff.
Well, I feel like the Beatles nostalgia doesn't really come into play until Lennon dies.
I think that's true. There's a part of that,
Yeah.
and you know,
they purposefully the band purposefully stayed away from it.
yeah.
George was like, I've got a 3-disc album, which is among the, All Good Things Must Pass, as another one of the discs I got from Chris. That's a triple album.
Yeah.
Like, fuck double albums. That's
And
a triple
It's
album.
awesome because he was like, I want it to be the price of a normal album. Like, he did not want it to be bumped up in price because, it was
Three
three discs.
Yeah.
Then he had the concert for Bangladesh, all of his friends coming out for
Yeah.
that, and he had that epic beard, like that huge epic beard.
No one can grow a beard faster than George Harrison.
No, not really. I mean, like, he could shave in the morning at Abbey Road, and by the time they're closing up for night, he just has like this massive beard.
Yeah.
It's like in Yellow Submarine, the movie when they're
Sea
singing
of
When I'm
Time?
64, and
Yeah.
it just
That's real life for
Yeah.
George Harrison.
yeah. I guess it is the Sea of Time where it grows, and then when they're singing When I'm 64, it's shrinking back.
Yeah. Do, 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 do. Yeah.
Do.
But no, I always loved. That's some to touch back on the impetus for this. I always felt album art. I have the Arnold Schwarzenegger workout mix. I never intend to put that on. I mean, if you guys want, I can bring it over and we can listen to it. But I
We
never
can work out to it.
Yeah, you want to pump up. You want to clench your buttocks and do squats. But I hope he says that.
Oh my god.
And
It's like when you're coming on stage, coming with a woman.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
I feel like I'm coming day and night. But I never intend to listen to that. But I own it. I would love to get Bruce Willis's The Return of Bruno.
Yeah.
But I never
The
intend to
return. Yeah, the return of
listen-
Bruno.
Where who's Bruno?
And why is he returning?
Yeah,
Because where were you the first time?
Where's he been?
Yeah,
Oh, no. This is the first time.
yeah.
I mean, it's just like how Backstreet Boys' first song was "Backstreet's Back."
I never intend to learn or to listen to William Shatner's The Transformed Man. But I would love to get that album.
And do you intend to listen to "Touch of Leonard Nimoy"?
I've actually, before you gave me that record for Christmas, I've listened to some select tracks like it's like Lady Wine, which he plays. If you ever watch the Star Trek episode, it's a season 3 episode called Plato's Stepchildren. They're brainwashed by these aliens to basically perform their Greco-Roman play, and it's Maiden Wine, that's what it is. And he plays Maiden Wine on the harp and sings like a couple verses from it, and then it shows up on his like third album. Because Touch of Leonard Nimoy, here's what a lot of people don't get: Touch of Leonard Nimoy is like his second or third album. Like, he's got the first one, I think, was like Mr. Spock's like groovy tunes from outer space, and then like he has and then he has like. He has a pretty full discography.
Which one has Bilbo Baggins?
I want to say it's the second album,
Yeah.
which I don't know what it is right off the top of my head because I'm not a big like
That's the only Leonard Nimoy song I
music,
know.
like efficient. But yeah, he's actually got a lot of music out there. It's just which is bizarre to me, but
Yeah.
but people loved Mr.
Yeah.
He got William
Shaq has a rap album.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. He's Shaq's on Kazam or raps on Kazam.
the Rapping Genie.
Yeah, God.
But he also has like a separate rap album that has like nothing to do with Shazam.
I mean, Macho Man Randy Savage has a rap track.
Hulk Hogan has an album.
Yeah. Yeah, jeez. Fuck. But yeah.
Keanu Reeves has a band.
Yeah,
Which
Dogstar.
actually they're pretty good.
Yeah.
He just plays bass. It's
Yeah.
cool because he's not like the front man. He's just like,
Yeah,
play
he's
bass.
just
Yeah.
he's just in the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner, his band Modern West did the soundtrack, famous for killing each other. The soundtrack for
Hatfields and
Hatfields
McCoys.
and McCoys, which is really good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What's 30 Odd for the Grunts?
Oh,
Russell Crowe's band.
yeah, old Russell.
Yeah.
I love Russell Crowe. I do.
But yeah, so it's been a pretty good haul. I will say this has been kind of like my New Year weekend has maybe not been the best because my basement flooded this past Friday, and so I've been literally cleaning shit for the past couple days. You missed me, like you guys didn't see me at the beginning of the day. I was still reticent, even though we've had running water, or at least water that can run without overflowing, since yesterday afternoon. But I was still reticent and reluctant to take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the beginning of it, like I must have just looked like a fucking like my hair's a bit longer now, and I had a full beard up until this afternoon, and I just like unshaven, unwashed from like the past 48 hours, probably like smelling like just poo, just like looking like a wild man. Actually, I might post this picture on our Facebook, but I did take a picture of myself before I finally jumped in the shower for the first time in 2 days, and yeah, let me.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
You
wait,
look-
hang on. Give me this.
yeah.
Give me this photo.
Fucking-
Jesus Christ.
so in Casa,
I've got like 1,000-year-old
You
stare.
need to have your first album Stone, like like McCartney style, or
Yeah.
like McCartney 2 with the album cover.
Yeah.
Stone 2. so Casa de Stone or Stone Manor has been he zoomed in on it. So Stone Manor has been essentially Waterworld for the past 48 hours.
except for instead of
except good.
yeah, and except
Or
for like
not as
yeah,
bad.
instead of drinking piss, I was cleaning it. Yeah.
Well, that's why you've been dehydrated.
Yeah, God, I have such a 1,000-yard stare in this. I look like I'm
Yeah.
being shell shocked.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's gonna next couple days gonna be some more hardcore cleaning. The damage is done, and the water's running again. I've showered, shaved, and I feel like $1 million compared to how I felt when I woke up today.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, have you guys ever had like anything like that, like a septic tank or anything?
So in the room that we're recording in, my basement, there, as you both are well aware, there is a bathroom down here. It used to the toilet used to not flush so well, and probably about 5 or 6 years ago now, the toilet backed up and started overflowing, and I didn't realize that it had happened because like I went to the bathroom and then went to work,
Right.
came back, and there was like the entire basement was wet.
Yeah.
Like
God,
there
that
was not a bit of carpet. Like all of this carpet is.
Did
like
you have to
5
replace
years old.
it, or-
Yeah, no. This is brand new.
yeah.
It's
Since then.
Yeah, it is no longer brand new. But yeah, this is like 5-year-old.
We're
carpet.
gonna it didn't encompass all the carpet, so
Even the padding underneath had to be replaced. It soaked in.
because it's like a sponge.
Yeah.
What I plan to do is literally steam clean the shit out of it. Because I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, we can always rip it up if that doesn't work. Let's try to salvage it for
Yeah.
now. So we're gonna
Yeah, and if you don't mind, you can always do patchwork too.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Although usually that ends up being like very noticeable.
yeah. And honestly, there's enough of it wet that it
Yeah.
would, if you had to go that far, then it would just be like fuck
Replace
it.
it. Might as well.
Yeah.
It'd probably be easier to replace the whole thing than to figure out patches.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we'd
yeah.
probably, because my dad's looking to put that house on the market. Because my dad lives in Alexandria, and I live in the house I grew up in. Because he's since remarried and lives with his new wife out in Alexandria, and I live in the house I grew up in Fairfax, which is a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's looking to put that house on the market in the next, within the next year, and
New carpeting would be good for the listing anyway.
new carpeting would be good. You could always just even market it as like a partially finished house.
Yeah.
Because it's a fully finished basement. It's just that the carpet in certain areas maybe is not the great, not that great anymore.
You could do what Jack's nightclub in Springfield did and just tear up the carpet because there was too much shit tracked in it.
Yeah. So
That's literally what they used to have. They used to have carpet on like the quote unquote like dance floor. Well, like, they had like the hardwood dance floor, but like everything else was carpeted. But they realized after like 10 or 20 years of being in business that people are gross when they're at a bar, and
Yeah.
had tracked shit out from the bathroom, and it had gotten so
just
bad,
matted into it.
yeah, that it was like a health hazard. So they just tore up the carpet and left the concrete underneath.
Yeah. What I plan to do is steam clean most of it within the next couple days, and if like come the end of January, if there's still like that smell of mildew or whatever, then just saying like fuck it, because it's just concrete under
Yeah.
it. 'Cause since it's the bottom level that got affected, but yeah, I did.
At least it was just the basement.
yeah, thank God,
Yeah.
and at least it wasn't more than maybe an inch high in certain points.
Yeah.
The big thing I panicked about was I was like, oh fuck, like I was like cleaning stuff up, and my 360 was wet.
Ooh.
And I was like, "Oh god damn it!" And so I like put it like on a bookcase, and I very cautiously turned it on last night, and it worked.
Yeah, that I don't know if I ever told you about this. The first apartment that I lived in New York.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what killed your 360.
not my 360, just my HD DVD drive. But like, so the way I had it arranged, where in my room I had my TV up against a wall and pretty close to the corner, and right there in the corner, right close to the corner, was a window opposite my TV, not right like behind it, but like on the other side of the corner. And all of my, like DVD player and all that stuff was on like a bookshelf right there. And essentially my 360 was on the windowsill. And apparently the person that lived there before me, the way that they had hung the blinds, they had just the window you could pull up the bottom panel or pull down the top panel. Apparently they had just shoved the top of the blinds in the top panel and closed it, but because the top of the blinds is so thick, it didn't close all the way. So I don't know how this person lived with it, but every time it rained, it leaked. And yeah, the first big storm we had leaked all over my 360 and my HD DVD drive, and I was like, oh my god, I still have a collection of HD DVDs, even though it's an obsolete format. And for a hot minute, I thought that, just like you, I was worried that my 360 was dead. So I kind of like took it apart and like, checked it for wetness, and I was like, whatever, it's out of warranty already anyway, blah blah blah,
Yeah, so far as I can tell, it works just fine. Controllers work fine, wireless adapter works fine, but yeah,
it does smell like shit though.
Yeah, well
that's because you bathe it in shit every week.
Yeah, every time I lose a match in Halo Online, defecate on top of it.
It's your fault.
Yeah. Fuck you, Shock T. It was always my one of my buddies from high school. That was his screen name. First thing that came to mind.
Shock T, I believe, is a Twi'lek from
Shock T is a alien
from Star Wars, right?
Yeah. Shock
Twi'lek.
Shock D, because the full thing was Shock D-17, because he had recently discovered the Shocker and he lived in District 17. that was because in high school that's as creative as you got when you created screen names.
Yep.
So his follow-up was just his initials and his year of birth, because again you don't get
going
that
retro.
Yeah, you don't get that creative.
Yeah, going first email address style.
Yeah. I mean,
actually, that was my first email. S. What the? Do I even know my own name?
Yeah.
C-E-N.
Got a moron here.
CEN417 at hotmail.com.
Christopher.
It's a very weird Scandinavian spelling where the S makes a K noise.
Yeah. Little known phonetic tick there.
Yeah, even Scandinavians don't know about it.
Yeah. So yeah. But
so fake.
on a pleasant note, I did see the last Hobbit film.
The final Lord of the Rings film in general.
Yeah, within the Tolkien verse.
Within the Peter Jackson Tolkien verse, at least. Who knows? Someone else might, helm some more.
Yeah, adapt the Silmarillion or something.
Because, they have plenty of versions of The Hobbit and the other Lord of the Rings movies already.
I have the animated Hobbit on DVD from like the 70s.
Yeah.
Where Gollum kind of looks like a frog. And the...
Not Andy Serkis.
Yeah. But it was good. It wasn't like Lord of the Rings good, like never as good as any of those films, but it's like in my opinion, stands heads and shoulders above the first two Hobbit films, because I think the big thing that kills the first two Hobbit films is, in order to make it 3 movies, there's just lots of stretches in those movies where like nothing worthwhile happens.
Yeah. For anyone that was complaining about like the original Lord of the Rings movies, that it's like drawn out and boring, like just beautiful shots of New Zealand. The Hobbit took it to great new heights. And I remember I finally got around to watching Desolation of Smaug just a couple weeks ago, and I remember getting like halfway through it and being in that like really clicking, because like about halfway through that movie there's a couple scenes where it's literally just like 5 minutes of establishing shots.
Yeah,
and it finally clicked. I was like, this is why it's 3 movies long.
I feel the same way about the Hobbit trilogy as I do the Star Wars prequel trilogy, in that they're nowhere near as good as their predecessors. There's too much use of CGI over practical effects, and they're overlong. Some of the dialogue's a little wooden, and they get to their credit, they get better as they go. Like, I think Attack of the Clones is better than Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Revenge of the Sith is head and shoulders above both of those.
Yeah.
They
Or definitely the prequels, but also the Hobbit probably also suffer from the fact that the person helming the movies has gotten so much clout that people are afraid to tell him what he really needs to edit out, or tell him, like, you need to rewrite this because it's not done. It's still in the draft phase, or whatever.
Honestly, I feel like Peter Jackson's heart maybe isn't in it as it was with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, when he's making that, he's still hungry. He's just coming off doing like Heavenly Creatures or what's the where the zombie punches Dead Alive.
Yeah.
Those types
with
of
the lawnmower.
Yeah, he had originally written
oh my God, that's
a script for Nightmare on Elm Street 6.
Yeah.
So he's still.
I would have loved to see that.
That's what started his relationship with New Line Cinema, which is who did the Lord of the Rings, distributed the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films.
Yeah. Look at them stepping up.
Yeah,
because they started out as practically a grindhouse.
The house that Freddy built.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was the success of those first 4 Nightmare on Elm Street films. Well, technically, no Nightmare on Elm Street film cost more than it made, but after Dream Master, there's like a huge drop in box office.
And quality.
Well, honestly, I would argue after Dream War, though there are moments in Dream Master I'm like, that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's moments in Dream Child, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Each of the movies has its own like good quality and something like super clever like that puts that on the map as like a worth watching the whole movie for that. Like
nightmare sequences are usually very cool.
Yeah, and even Nightmare 2, the redheaded stepchild that everyone seems to want to forget about.
Yeah.
Like there are some like the scene where like Freddy comes out of the kid's chest or whatever. Like that is amazing.
Yeah,
for its time. And there are other I think it's Dream. It's either Dream Master or Dream Child, where like they have a giant Freddy like almost crucified in a church, and like he's just like kind of exploding all over himself, and like that's amazing, and it's all practical effects. And
well, I feel like it's 4 where the spirits come out and like the trapped souls come out and tear apart Freddy.
That might be the one that I was talking about.
It's either 4 or 5. My problem with once you hit, starting with 4 to a greater extent 5, is there are films that are largely written around the nightmare sequences. They're like, it'd be really cool if we did this.
Yeah.
And then let's find a way to get to that point.
And then which gives you really cool nightmare sequences, like you were saying, but unfortunately, like lackluster everything else. Like one of my favorite deaths, I think, is in 5 or 6. Where it's just really goofy, but this girl's in like a classroom and Freddy like turns into the teacher and like calls on her, and he's just like, "Hey babe, want to suck face?" and then like just clamps his mouth down on hers and just just inhales the soul out of her, and she just ends up sitting there like just a sack of skin. And I don't know why. Probably because of the pun.
I feel like that's Dream Master.
That might be Dream Master.
Yeah, that had some really cool sequences.
Yeah, and then the Aha cartoon death sequence.
Oh, that's Dream. That's Dream Child.
Yeah,
the comic book kind of sequence. Yeah.
I like that where he.
And then he drains the color out of him.
Yeah.
And 5 was, Dream Child was a lot more graphic, but apparently the MPAA just hated on that film so much because with Dream Child, the mandate was make Freddy scary again.
Yeah.
Because they felt they had lost that in the last 2 films, and which I could kind of see where they were coming from, but like there's a sequence where a chick eats so much that she like. Yeah. In the original
7 style.
Yeah, well, in the original film, Freddy, by the end of it, is having her eat herself. I don't think that's in the theatrical version. But, yeah. So, to take it back to The Hobbit.
So pause this podcast and watch all 10 of the Freddy movies, including Freddy vs. Jason. I think that makes 10. That might only be 9.
Well, New Nightmare would be 7, then, it's 9.
Yeah.
If you count the remake, it's 9.
I don't.
Okay. So then it's 8.
Oh, well, no, the remake does have one cool shot where she falls through the floor and it becomes like ocean stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of a
Yeah.
But yeah, so to take it back to The Hobbit, I will say like none of the chuffa. It runs a little tighter than the first 2 Hobbit films. There's the Stephen Fry's henchman is in the movie too much. He's that movie's Jar Jar. I'm going to go ahead and invoke episode 1 on that. So he could. I wish. Yeah, I wish he was not
Finish
in
that sentence.
I wish he was not in that film.
There you go.
There. But he is, and yeah, it's just a tight ride. It's the coolest. I love the ring wraiths.
Yeah.
And this film is the coolest they ever look out of any of Peter Jackson's adaptations. So, if you stuck through those first 2 Hobbit films, this one's what I can see. Some critics were complaining that it's like, oh, it's just CGI guys fighting. And one of my complaints about the Transformers movies is that the action sequences go too long to the point where they kind of like lose their potency.
It's just boring after a while.
Yeah, well, I think a good action sequence you never want to end.
Yeah.
It leaves you wanting just a little bit more. It satisfies, but it never.
Much like how we're anticipating so much the new Mad Max movie, which is supposedly just a 90-minute car chase.
Yeah,
which feels, based on the trailer, looks like it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So, I can certainly see some people having that effect where they kind of get worn out watching the Battle of Five Armies, because once the battle starts, that's the rest of the film for the most part. I didn't get that. It changed it up enough where I was like, okay, I can. This is cool. I mean, it's still just like largely just pixels fighting on a screen, but at this point, I'm kind of, at the end of the day, it was kind of pixels fighting on a screen at the end of Return of the King. So I can get behind that. Yeah. So if you stuck through those first 2, I think it's worth it. It's this trilogy's Revenge of the Sith to complete that analogy.
All right.
That's fair.
Fair. You guys, did you? Because for me, the Lord of the Rings films was a pretty big part of like my high school. They would come out, right around every Christmas. And I remember, I guess it was Christmas going into 12th grade. I was like, oh, I don't get a new one. I don't get that. That's done. This is, because we never knew if we were going to get an adaptation of The Hobbit.
Yeah. But now we know, like Chris was saying, we'll probably get an adaptation of everything Tolkien ever wrote, because they would keep that cash cow going.
Yeah.
Even the little scraps that he wrote on a napkin.
Yeah, for the unfinished tales.
Yes, the Tolkien laundry list in 3D.
Peter Jackson makes it 7 movies.
Yes. Each ingredient. His broccoli. The potatoes.
Shows how they're grown in New Zealand.
Yeah, right. I enjoyed the Lord of the Rings movies. I've never read any of the books, but I enjoy the movies a lot. I own the super duper extended editions because they do have this kind of a Christmas feel to it. Because like Sam was saying, they came out around that time, and I enjoyed going to see them, and it was a cool event. I also, one of the things that it makes me think of Christmas almost even more so was, I remember we got the Return of the King video game for the GameCube, and my brother and I played the crap out of that game and loved that game.
That was a good game. I had that for PS2 along with Two Towers.
It's a great game.
Great.
I think I've played a little bit of the Two Towers, but the Return of the King was a great game.
Well, the problem with Two Towers, the video game, because if you've never played either of the official like Electronic Arts adaptations where they incorporate bits of the film and have the voice actors and everything, or the original actors providing the voices and likenesses, it's basically a beat 'em up. It's like those beat 'em ups of old, but set within the movie verse, where you're just instead of taking on crowds of thugs like you would in Streets of Rage or Final Fight or foot soldiers and like Turtles in Time, you'd be taking on just orcs.
Well, I remember the Return of the King starts off and you're watching like a cutscene and you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, if you're not paying attention, it drops you into the game as Gandalf. like right from the cutscene.
Yeah,
and you're just like there's like orcs everywhere. You're like, oh shit,
You're in the Battle of Helm's Deep. And you're like, oh fuck.
But it's cool, because you get to pick, one of the character. You can pick different characters and be that character throughout the game if you'd like, and upgrade stuff and get different weapons. And there's definitely like some really frustrating stuff in the game. But I remember Christmas Day when we got it, we just played the crap out of that game. Like we love that game.
Yeah. The problem with Return of the King, fantastic, fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with Two Towers is it was single player only.
Ooh.
So you beat 'em ups like the first Double Dragon, single player only.
Yeah.
What made Double Dragon 2 The Revenge? Is the subtitle.
The fact that it's called Double Dragon and it's only one player. The first one is like
Single
It's like naming your first album Return of Bruno.
Yeah. Only album.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows, Bruce?
Yeah, maybe one gets that in midlife or Twilight
The
Crisis.
second return of Bruno.
Yeah,
The second one's called The Birth of Bruno.
Yeah. It's a lady holding an infant that looks like Bruce Willis.
So
Which is
Bald
Bruce
head.
Willis.
Yeah, which is to say, an
Yeah.
infant. Yeah, so the that it was
by the way, any of our listeners here that are adequate at Photoshop, if you make that, I will be eternally proud and happy.
and grateful, yeah.
I might make that our cover picture.
For a week.
Yeah.
Let's not scare away too many people. Because that would like be nightmare inducing, like Arnold's kid in Junior. But the that dream sequence was terrifying.
Oh.
But the Two Towers is a good game, but a game like that almost screams for like the ability to have like 2-player co-op, and especially some of those like when you're doing Helm's Deep and it's just like too many orcs, you're just like fucking surrounded by Uruk-hai. That's what I liked about Return of the King. They like heard all that and they're like, okay, well we'll just make them 2-player levels. So yeah. The great game. So it's cool to see that saga finally come to an end. Sure, I wish it was maybe not as drawn out as it was, but you know what? I own those first 2 Hobbit movies. Every now and again, sure, I'll pop them on. Just like every now and again, I'll pop on The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And you know what? I like An Unexpected Journey, the first Hobbit film, better than The Phantom Menace.
I mean, I'd agree because I haven't seen the second Hobbit movie. But there's very few things that Phantom Menace would beat for me. And so, yes, the first Hobbit I would take over the Phantom Menace.
If your choices were Wild Wild West.
Yes.
Eraserhead.
Ooh.
All right, Sam wins because I'd watch Phantom Menace over Eraserhead.
Any day of the week.
Yeah, and I'd probably watch Phantom Menace over Wild Wild West because I think it's shorter.
Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, no. But I mean, at least it has some cool stuff.
Well,
in
the
it.
cool thing
Wild West
about
has nothing.
It has a giant mechanical spider.
As my eyes cross and I drool at the side of my mouth.
The thing about the Phantom Menace, the reason I can watch it, I've sat through it since seeing it in theaters in 1999, is that I love the first 30 minutes.
Yeah,
and I love, for the most part, the last 30
That's
minutes.
fair. I mean, the last time I watched...
There's like a whole hour in between that's just...
Almost an hour and a half.
Yeah.
The last time I watched The Phantom Menace, it was when they to listen to the commentary, like George Lucas did commentary on all the prequels, and I was interested in hearing his kind of take and him talking about the movie and explaining himself at some parts. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy the end of that movie a lot. I like Qui-Gon Jinn, and the battle was pretty cool between the three of them.
The Darth Maul to me was always the best part about the Phantom Menace, and I was always really annoyed that he got taken out at the end, which was one of the things that I really liked about the Clone Wars TV show. When they brought him back,
and they never resolved that plot thread.
Yeah, so he could always come back again.
Yeah, him and his brother. And
I'm so glad that they didn't go with the comic book version of Darth Maul's robot legs, where it's like fucking Dr. Arliss Lovelace mechanical spider legs.
Christ. I think the big thing about what was I going to talk about? Was it the Phantom Menace? Oh, the last time I saw the Phantom Menace in its entirety was Lucas was trying to re-release the Star Wars films in theaters annually in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of doing it in release order, i.e. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, he was doing it in episode order. And so he did it, obviously, the first episode is The Phantom Menace, and it didn't get a whole lot of box office. And it's like, well, no shit.
Yeah.
You released The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, you
like
should have just done the original trilogy, man.
Yeah, and so they
Yeah, the diehard Star Wars fan I was like, I don't know.
I mean, I actually did it because Star Wars on the big screen is always a good time.
Yeah.
But, and honestly, I would have loved them to have done it.
Oh, yeah. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably was one of the reasons why it didn't happen because I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm to blame.
I would have been cool.
Well, I don't know why they're surprised. They're like, "Oh, it didn't perform that well." It's like, yeah, because if honestly, if you started with Star Wars, people like it would be like special edition in '97.
Oh yeah.
People would pack the house.
Yeah, even knowing Lucas, it would have been the special edition in 3D. People still would have come out.
Yeah, if you convert it, they will come, man. And
Yeah.
they did the wrong one. And I guess I can understand kind of.
It's like, oh, the fans didn't want it. No, the fans didn't want the Phantom Menace in 3D.
Yeah, I could do Attack of the Clones. You know?
Yeah, I would. I did the first one. I would certainly do Attack of the Clones. Certainly do Revenge of the Sith. I'd even do the Clone Wars because that's CGI. It's 3D anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would have been the best
looking
adaptation out of all of them.
Yeah. I mean,
because the other ones would have looked like cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, kind of just So
like a pop-up book.
I'm looking forward to episode 7, but I hear rumors that Disney is trying to downplay the special editions and the first 3 episodes as much as possible.
Yeah, I heard that Disney's actually going to be, or considering, this is rumor mill stuff, but I heard that they're considering releasing the original theatrical versions of the original trilogy on Blu-ray, and I gotta say, I got a geek boner over that.
That's the entire reason I've held out from buying any Star Wars movie on
Me too.
Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Me too.
I'm hoping for that one day
Yeah,
where they finally do it.
yeah.
Because they did it for a limited time with the DVDs.
Yeah.
For the original trilogy.
Yeah. By the way, I was speaking of which, I've had a stack of the Harmy's despecialized editions of the original trilogy that I've been meaning to tell you to go home with for like months now. That it's over there by my TV. It's Jabba's on top of them. But remind me, before you leave today, remind me to take those because I had made them for someone else. And I've yet to be able to get to hang out with that person. And I remember the first day that I had them, you saw them and you were like, "Ooh!" And I like a week after I had made those, I had given up of trying to hang out with that person. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'll just give them to Sam."
Do you want to explain to our listeners exactly what the Harmony is?
Yeah, I guess
because
since
we've
I
kind of
invoked it.
Yeah, and we've kind of mentioned it in passing, but yeah.
Yeah. So for just to bring it on back. For those of you who are fans of Star Wars, you're aware that there's a huge difference between the original theatrical versions that came out in the 70s and 80s of the original trilogy and what's really kind of like the only thing available on like high-end video today, known as the special editions, because of what George Lucas did to them. When was that? The mid-90s, late 90s?
97.
97.
Because it was the 20th anniversary.
Right, yeah. So George Lucas went in and, as some like of the more hardcore fans would explain it, kind of did like a hack job to them. Basically, he, in his vision, he kind of updated the graphics and changed things here and there to kind of go along with his quote unquote like original vision that he just wasn't able to do back in the day. The problem is a lot of the fans kind of feel like some of the changes went a little too far or kind of like almost negate things that actually happen in the films.
Yeah, there's only like 2 changes out of all 3 that there's a few where I'm kind of on the line, but there's only 2 where I'm outright like fuck you.
If I recall correctly, there are 4 that I'm just like fuck off. One of them and I'll try to go in order. One of them, I'm sure everyone's going to know.
Sorry, I can just see Chris like it happens, and he goes, "Fuck off." And the next one, he's like,
literally.
He's like humming along. Fuck off.
Yeah. No. So the first one, probably everyone, anyone that knows what I'm talking about, probably knows this. Han shot first.
That's one of them.
Yeah. The idea that Greedo. Like not even from the whole like how dare Greedo get a chance to shoot, but like just let's talk about this. Greedo and Han are sitting at a table in the cantina at Mos Eisley. They are like 2 feet away. He misses. And he's not even like
awkward. Harrison
and
Ford
but the fact that he misses so like outright is just a shame. Like it's offensive. And then it kind of messes with the idea of Han, because I like the idea of Han being like, I ain't taking no shit, plow, like that kind of badass. Not even giving Greedo a chance to shoot. And also, with Greedo shooting first, it kind of like is an awkwardly timed thing, because they try to sneak it in before the moment where Han shoots. So that's number one. Number two, the scene directly following it is an added-in, deleted scene of Han talking to Jabba, and it is the most like de-villainizing scene ever. Like, it makes Jabba not nearly as menacing as he's made out to be in a scene that just ended
because of the tail stomp.
Because the tail, he stomps on his tail. First of all, the CGI work on that, because the original actor was just a dude. They didn't know that it was going to be a giant slug at the time. So Han at one point just walks around him, and so they're like, oh well, he has a giant tail now. So now we have to make it look like he like steps on his tail. And, like, he fucking steps on Jabba's tail. Jabba is a fucking, like, godfather of a crime family. Like, that is... And he's already telling Han that he's, that he's got a death, note on his head. Like, that would just... That would have killed Han right there. Even Han is smart enough to not step on Jabba's tail.
Yeah, and that's unbelievably stupid. Like, that would be the equivalent of the Godfather reading some of the riot act, and the guy steps on his toe really quick, and then the Godfather's like, hey, all right, now back to what I was talking about. Like, that's insane.
And then he lets him go.
And also the way it looks is like it's like this pyramid, like like the way he goes up and down, because like it was
a glitch when they rendered in Jabba.
That should have been a huge fucking clue.
Yeah.
If you have a glitch and it looks like shit, and take it out.
And also there is literally nothing in that scene that is presented as new information. It's almost completely rehashed of the conversation that he had with Greedo 2 seconds before.
Well, I certainly agree with you on the tail stomp. Certainly it depowers Jabba. What I like, because it's not one of my 2 fuck yous, because what I like about it is it further establishes Jabba 2 films early, and it's the first glimpse of Boba Fett.
Which is a much better first glimpse of Boba Fett than the Star Wars Holiday Special, which I do not recommend watching unless you have a drink in your hand, a stiff drink,
or 5.
It would have been better to show Boba Fett for the first time if in the special edition version, when they have the space crawl, the crawl in the beginning, and they just flash a picture on for 5 seconds, and they go, "Look, here he is, kids," and then they take it away, then deal with how they did it with.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I would say my 2 big fuck yous. That's definitely number 1, because it's pointless
over Han shooting.
Han shooting is whatever. I mean, I know like a lot of people are like, it's not Han shot first, it's just that Han shot, period. You know, that there was no battle or whatever.
No one shoots. Han shoots only.
Yeah, Han shot. That's it.
Yeah. My biggest problem, like I said, it's just annoying how badly Greedo misses.
Yeah, I mean, that and the fact that he like kind of like you were saying, like kind of dodge. It's like, well, no, you don't.
I mean, weird Night of the Roxbury dodge.
I mean, granted, all of the almost everything that's added is pretty dumb. I mean, granted, it's. The sad, I mean, like the reality of it is, though, George Lucas do whatever he wants. You know what I mean? So that's just the way it is.
Actually, oddly enough, a couple years before he did Star Wars, he actually argued in Congress saying that once a movie is released, it is the property of the fans, not the property of the filmmakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's just a fun little
bizarro
George
irony. Lucas.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say, I think the Han or the Han stuff before that is dumb, but just the Jabba stuff is a perfect example of every reason why there shouldn't have been additions. Like you were saying, it brings nothing to the table outside of seeing Boba Fett. It brings the glitch, which is a huge problem, but just looking stupid. And it, like you were saying, it totally takes away any it kind of takes away defangs. Thank you, Jabba.
Yeah.
And so that right there is a perfect example of no point for that
Yeah.
being added there.
That's one of the two that I'm on the fence on.
Okay.
But
And then, oddly enough, Empire Strikes Back. I don't really mind it.
the other one that I'm on the fence on is in Empire Strikes Back.
The
The
go
Wampa.
ahead. Yeah, okay.
Seeing the Wampa.
I can understand. Yeah, that's it. It's not a big fuck you to me, but it is.
Yeah, it's not.
But
yeah,
but it's
me on the
it's
fence.
unnecessary. Yeah. But then skip to Return of the Jedi, which is my two other fuck yous, and it's just songs. They changed the song at Jabba's palace, and I hate the new band.
Yeah,
especially
that's
the
my other
little
fuck you.
screaming guy.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah, and then I miss Yub Nub at the end. The Ewok song. I really liked Yub Nub. I don't really like the replacement song. I do like the showing
montage.
Yeah, showing the other planets. That's fine. Showing Coruscant, whatever the other planets are.
It's in the regular special edition. It's Coruscant and Tatooine.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the DVD,
Blu-ray,
the DVD release,
oh yeah,
they added because he also tinkers with it for the DVD release, and he tinkers with it again for the Blu-ray release. And I have issues with both of those.
He makes the Ewoks blink in the Blu-ray.
Yeah, and he also and he
makes
also
Jabba's palace door huge.
Yeah, the thing that he adds in the DVD release, he adds Naboo. And Jar Jar screaming "We's it free,"
Ugh.
and then I'd blow my brains out every time.
Yeah, and then I understand like why he did it, but like the Hayden Christensen, Hayden Christensen adding the spirit of Hayden Christensen at the end of Return of the Jedi,
to tie it to the
like I get the philosophy that he was trying to go with, where Anakin died, on the volcano planet. It's like, well. Okay, I get where you're going with there. I disagree with you because he redeems himself.
Exactly.
When he throws the Empire. Yeah, exactly. So I still see Anakin Skywalker's spirit
as Sebastian
that.
Shaw.
Yeah, unless you get to choose. But then why does
you
Obi-Wan
enter the Force and which body would you like to forever be seen as?
And
then you click it and he goes, "Are you sure this is the body you would like to choose? You can no longer My biggest fuck you is in Jedi where Vader screams no when he throws.
That's a Blu-ray edition.
Well, I mean it's something that's added to it. It's something
which
is
if
Star
we're
Wars.
counting Blu-ray stuff, yes.
Yeah,
where he screams no when he kills.
That's the worst.
I forget all of the editions on the Blu-ray, but basically all of the editions on the Blu-ray I check no on. There's some things in the special edition that I'm cool with, like whenever the Death Stars explode, they have that supernova ring around it. I think that looks cool as shit.
I like having more starfighters out during the Battle of Endor.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm a huge fan of miniatures, and I love that those first three movies were all shot with miniatures, and it makes me sad when they're being replaced with CGI stuff. But the fact that the fleets are huge, I like that. More ships, the lasers and shit like that look cooler. I'm fine with that. Updating the graphics, cleaning it up, and stuff like that. That's fine. But so after that, almost 20-minute discussion on the problems with the special edition, lots of fans dislike the special editions. Lots of them dislike it more than I do, and I probably out of the three of us hate them the most. I don't know. That's an argument for another day.
I mean, none of us own Blu-ray, so
that's true.
That's a indicator. I have them on DVD.
Yeah, I do as well.
I have it on the VHS.
I have 2 copies of the VHS trilogy.
I actually don't own them on DVD.
I have them on DVD, and I have the Laserdiscs because for a long time there was no way to get the original theatrical cuts on DVD, or also the VHSs were pan and scan. They weren't widescreen. So I found out that the Laserdiscs, if you got the Laserdiscs, they were in widescreen. I still have a Laserdisc player. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this. Then, right after I bought the Laserdiscs, I found out about this guy, Harmy, who's a Swedish or Norwegian film editor who spent a year on each movie and going in and pulling from all of these different sources, the Blu-ray, the VHS, the DVD, the Laserdisc, original film cells that he was able to get his hands on, just to do the closest that he could from a backwards engineering sense to get the original theatrical versions, without all the, as Sam likes to use the term, chuffa thrown in that George Lucas had done.
I got that term from Bruce Willis.
And
to tie it back a bit.
Yeah, well, there's the return.
Yeah, is he Bruno?
I guess so.
But yeah, so that's what that is.
So so this guy, like I said, he spent a year on each movie. They are all three of them are Blu-ray quality. They're not exact duplicates of the original theatricals, but they're the closest we're going to get until Disney supposedly releases the original theatricals on Blu-ray. And they are beautiful. And if you can find them, because they are floating around the internet, if you can find them, I highly recommend checking them out. And also buying official releases because,
please support the official release.
Yeah, because doing otherwise is illegal.
Damn right.
And I'll do it again.
Support the official release or get internet.
Damn right.
Okay. Well, I think...
Is that a good pause, please?
I mean, fuck, we went all over the place on this one, didn't we?
Right?
This one kind of ran off the rails in a good way.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope you guys did too. Listening how I had to cover my hands in my own poo-poo.
Poo-poo and pee-pee.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, that's what this man had to slave through.
Yeah, that was my first. That's how my year started, gang.
I mean, first week sets the tone for the year.
River of shit.
River of slime. I'd rather take a river of slime.
Square?
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah. Hope you guys had a great start to your 2015 and good closeout to your 2014, and we'll see you next week with hopefully less caca in our lives.
Less caca. Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
Bye, and I'm not gonna insult you guys. I was gonna quote a line from Birdman at the very end of the film where he's like, bye and fuck you. But I won't do that to you guys. I'm just gonna say bye.
And go watch Birdman.